So, good morning, everyone. Today we are going to
Morning.
handle today we are going to handle the human resource aspect of a project manager. Now, what is the background? A project manager, by definition, is a manager. So, when you're a manager, you manage three things. You manage people, you manage the process, and you manage the product or service. So, as a manager, you will definitely need to know the human resource aspect of a project management. So today we are going to cover that. So the first competency point that we thought we will bring in, and this is purely a competency framework for the Australian skills development and training certifications, which is valid across the world and definitely valid in any jobs in Australia. Um, and if any of you ever plan to go for a full certification program, in that case, you will know what are the competencies. So we will handle in next half an hour all the competencies required uh, for a human resource manager. So first one is you plan the human resources. That means you plan if you're a manager, who should be in your team. So who should be in a team means you plan how many team members. For example, suppose it's a football team, you need to first decide that there will be 11 players required to play a game of football. Okay, the second planning could be within that, there has to be someone who's a striker, someone who's a defender, someone who's a goalkeeper. So, therefore, all these are planning required for any team. And who does the planning? The planning is done by the manager, or in this case, the project manager. So, the first competency, do you know what is planning and what are the structured way of planning human resources for your project? The second is after planning, obviously you will recruit them. You can recruit them because already they are in your system, in your organization, or you can recruit them as completely new recruit from outside. And once you recruit them, you will know whether they have exactly all the competencies, capabilities, experiences to deliver the project. If they are, then you're very good. You are very lucky that you have exactly what you need. But as you remember, even the best team in soccer, in football, they also need to increase their capabilities and competencies. And that's the reason throughout the season and in the off season, they get training. They do training. So this is exactly the second competency that you as a project manager will be focusing on. What is the training needs of the people who are in your team? So training and development need will be your next capability. So do we know how to identify the training needs and how to train the people so that you get the best team to win the best tournament? Now, after you have trained, now the real player playing time comes. So there is a match. Okay, say this is the final match in which you want your team to win. Now, in that match, obviously, you need to be very mindful that the performance that you have set for each of your team members, they are performing in the best way. And therefore, the goalkeeper is doing the best goalkeeping job because you trained the goalkeeper. The defenders are playing perfectly harmoniously with each other. The strikers are doing well. And then, therefore, you have the chance of actually scoring the goals and winning the game. Now, that is the leading part. The leading part and making sure if suppose in the first half you have not scored a goal or you are basically gone one goal below, how do you make sure that you score one goal and then maybe one extra goal to win the match? So that is leading the team for performance. So that is the third aspect of our team or a project manager, that how do you lead the team to success? The last one, which most of the people always forgets, there is, now that the game is over, everyone thinks my project is over, but actually it is not over. There are certain protocols for a project manager how to close a project, which means part of the project closure is what do you do with the players? What do you do with the team members? So we will be competent about what is required by the project manager to do when the game is over. Okay, I gave you the example in past that when the party is over, everyone has gone home, but you, as the owner of the party, you will stay back because you have to fold all the chairs and tables, you have to clean the place, you need to make sure that everything is spick and span as it was before, and then you give the keys to the event owner. So therefore, project manager stays back because there are a lot of other things that needs to be done. So we'll see what requires to be done by the project manager on the context of the human resources. So these are the competencies we are going to learn today. So first is, therefore, what is the role of a project manager from the HR part? So there are two roles. One is managing the people, and the second is managing the contractors, because contractors do have also people. Why do we distinguish between people and contractor? Because people are someone who is employed by you. So they are your team members. Contractors are not employed by you. You have outsourced the activity to a third party. So therefore, you manage the project through a third party contract. And therefore, it is called contract management. So you manage the people or the contractor, that is also your job, because they are also working in your project and they have people on board. So whether they are contractor or their staff, which is your own people, you need to manage both of them. So therefore, in the people management, your role is first to recruit the right people. First is, of course, the requirement, like, what is required. So do you need an extra goalkeeper? Do you need some extra hand to be in the bench for the midfielders? So requirement analysis. First you do the requirement. After you know the requirement, that is exactly who, when, how, and what, then you go and recruit them. The recruitment could be recruiting internally or recruiting externally. If you're doing internal recruitment, then obviously you have much more data about who they are, what their past experiences are, what the capabilities and competencies are. So you have all the data. Once you have got everyone, suppose you need a team of 11, but you have actually got 18 people hired because you need to look for contingency. Someone is injured, someone is tired. So suppose 18, you have recruited 18 players for your team. Then you have to write the organization structure. What is the organization structure? That is the hierarchy. The hierarchy of the organization means who is the boss. So you can say the manager could be a boss or the captain of the team could be a boss. So they'll be right on top. Under them, what we'll have, you will have a team. Now, how the team is drawn up in an organization chart, you will write, these are my four strikers, these are my two midfielders, these are my four defenders, and this is my goalkeeper. Okay, so exactly the way you see, that's an organization chart, and we'll see how to drop an organization chart for the project. And then I've already explained, after that, you look for performance indicators and you monitor and control those performance indicators and make sure that the team is performing to the desired level. Now, while you're doing that in the test matches or means trial runs, then you might identify that some place is weak. Maybe my left winger is a little bit of weak. Maybe my striker in the center position doesn't have the power, so then to score and win. Therefore, you will give extra training and development to wherever you think there is a weakness or there's a gap. So that is also your job as a project manager, to identify the training needs and to train them and to develop them. So today we are going to see some slides on training and development tools and techniques. And last I talked about that how do you close, how do you release your team members, how you reassign them to the future projects, etc. Same thing for the contractor, except the difference is you don't manage the people of the contractor, you manage the contractor because it's an external entity. For example, you are building a railway and huge project, and then you got several contractors. Say Larsen and Toubro, L&T is a contractor. Okay, so then you how do you deal with the Larsen and Toubros of the world? Okay, or there could be smaller contractors like you may outsource it, the plumbing to a plumbing contractor, the electrician job to an electrician contractor. So under the contractor, there will be multiple electricians working in your project. Okay, but they will manage their people, but you will manage the contractor. How do you manage the contractor? You manage that contractor through a contract. And basically, again, the same thing. First, you identify or establish the requirement so that you've told the contractor, I'm building a supermarket which has got 5 floors. Each floor has got maybe 20 rooms or 20 shops. You have to give them all these details that when you want, how you want, how many people you want. Now, for that, you will need what is called a statement of work. Now, this is a technical jargon that you need to know. Statement of work is the definition of the work that you need the contractor to understand, then quote, then get the approval from you for the price. And after you do that, then you actually award the contract. So that process is called a tender process. So you'll see the next one is a tender process. So you write a statement of work and go for tendering. And when you go for tendering, many people will bid for it. And after the bidding, then you have shortlisted some people, you negotiated the terms, and then you have given the award. That means you have given awarded the contract to them. Once you awarded the contract, then what you do is you do the contract administration. That means you administer what is there in the statement of contract, what is there in the agreement of the contract. You, as a project manager, will keep an eye that they are doing or delivering those as per the contracts. Okay, which means are they delivering the scope? Are they delivering the right quality? Are they delivering within the cost? Are they delivering within the time? So that will be your responsibility to manage the human resources. That means to manage the people and the contractor. And of course, in the contract administration, you are also responsible for the financials. That means time to time, the contractor will come and give you a bill. You need to make sure that the bills are paid. But to make the bills to be paid, you have to forecast what will be the bill that you need to pay in April and May and June. So therefore, there's a whole lot of financial calculations and work which is required for you as a project manager to forecast, establish, and pay. And if there are variations, to manage those variations, and if there are any disputes between you and the contractor, or contractors people and your people, or just contractors people, anything which is disputed, it is your responsibility to do the dispute resolution. When the job is finished, then your responsibility is also to audit that the contractor has finally delivered exactly the quality and the scope the way you wanted and the way the agreement was signed, and then you can close the process. So this in nutshell is the role of a project manager. So when you listen to the recorded version, you can go through it again and you will see if you are delivering this, that means you are doing the right job of a project manager. Now let's deep dive a little bit more and understand. Therefore, the manager's role is not only at the beginning to hire the people and then allocate and the job is over. No, the project manager does human resource management, that is people management, at the initiation stage, at the planning stage, at the implementation stage, at the monitoring and control stage, and at the closing stage. So therefore, this slide will give you an idea what you will be doing at each of the stage. So at the initiation stage, you will basically establish what is the scope of your human resource management. Okay, what is the scope here? At the planning stage, you will plan what are the requirements from the human that you will be hiring. What is the requirements? Okay. What are the requirements? I told you, I gave you the example of the football team. The requirements is someone should be able to be a striker, someone should be able to have the capability of a goalkeeper. So you just don't hire 11 players. You hire to the specific competency of the role that you're looking in for. A goalkeeper cannot be a striker cannot be a defender. Okay, at the planning stage, that's what you'll do. Now that you're planned, then you'll go and recruit. After you recruited, you will induct them into your project. There's an induction, which is part of your role. After you inducted, then you ask them, now you start performing. Now when they have started performance, then you will monitor and observe them that they're performing as per the standard that you have laid down for themselves. And if there is a performance gap, then obviously you will bring in the concept of training and development. And then at the end, you will release them. Okay, the project team needs to be released. And what do you do in the closing stage? Therefore, before you release, you actually establish the final performance and accordingly you give them rewards or recognitions. Okay, like any university that you've gone, at the end you are rewarded with a certification, rewarded with a degree, okay, based on your performance. So reward in the real life, reward could be someone is a top player, someone has got a special award, so you will reward and recognition. This is part of your role, because if you don't reward, it will be a thankless job for your team members. So they will expect you to recognize them for the good work that they have done. Then, of course, you need to do future planning. Future planning means, do you carry this team to the next project? Or do you tell them that, look, next project, I may not be the project manager, but my company has got another project. I'm handing you to another project manager. So you need to tell them what next, because people do not like to just work in a project and there's no job sitting at home, or they don't have clarity. They would like you to explain to them what is my future. So the future plan is your responsibility. And then, of course, there's a final audit, that who did what, how well, and what went well and what did not go so well. So this is a typical role from the initiation stage to the closing stage of you as a project manager in the 5 stages or phases of a project. Similarly, you can read here in the contract, third, there are 5 phases. First phase, you scope. Second page, you have the requirement, and I talked about the statement of work. With the statement of work, you go for tendering. In the implementation stage, you actually tender, negotiate, award the tender. After that, when the work starts, you do the contract administration, implementation, and monitoring, all variations, payments, everything you manage. And then you close the contract. When you close the contract, you have to do a final audit to make sure that what was contracted is what is delivered. Then you do evaluation of the contractor. Why? Because then you decide whether this contractor is good for the future project, or this contractor was so bad that you don't want this contractor to be coming to your project next time, or to go to any project that you know of in your company. So that's why a performance evaluation of the contractor is done. And then you record that and you share that with all the stakeholders and put it in the archive. So the future project managers will come and see the archive, that this contractor, how well they did in your project. And based on that, they will be hired again, or they will be not hired ever again. And of course, you will settle the dues. So I think now you have got a good idea what you do as a HR manager. The project manager is also an HR manager for his or her project. And these are your roles. Now we'll go to some specific tools and techniques. So one of the specific tool and technique is the resource allocation. So you will be allocating the resources. So first you will get, say, 18 players. Okay. Now after the 18 players have been hired based on the process, then you will make sure that who will be assigned which task. So here you will see, you will use a simple template like this, in which you will see task number 1, task number 2, task number 3. Now, how does this tasks come about? It comes from the work breakdown structure. You remember in when we were doing the scheduling, when we were doing the costing, we used work breakdown structure. That means a total project divided into small phases. Each phases are divided into small work packages, and each work packages is divided into specific tasks. So for each of the tasks, you will allocate them. So there will be who, that means a name will be there. What is their role? That means a designation will be there. And for that role, how many people? Is it one person will be assigned for the role or multiple people? And then what are the skills that you require to do that role? Both hard skill and the soft skill will be written. So a very simple uh, tool, but this is a complete tool. It's a complete tool. I'll give you an example. Again, let's take the example of going for a holiday. Okay, now suppose you're going for a holiday from your club or from your office or some organization that you work. Okay, now it could be a long drive and then going and cooking, someone setting up the camps, someone is in charge of catering. So, task number one could be driving from your location to that location. So, task one is driving. So, who can drive? Whose role will be there? There could be multiple people driving because it's a long hour, so not one driver designated, multiple drivers. So, you will say two or three people. And what are the skills that they are experienced drivers? They have the driving license. Soft skill is basically they don't drink. They are very vigilant because the entire team in the coach is dependent on the skill of the driver. And therefore, the task one is very well articulated, where you will be allocating a specific resource or specific resources for task number one, which is called driving. Similarly, task number two could be cooking. When you arrived at the location, you will say the following four people will be in charge of kitchen. Within that, you will say whose designation is what. One is a master chef, the others are chopping and cutting, and some other is basically actually cooking. So, like that, you will be describing them in the resource allocation sheet. So, in real life, also in the each project, you will have tasks. So, those tasks will be having specific designations, and using this small template, you will be allocating the resources to your project. So this is your first uh, tool, and this is your one of the competency that you need to know, that how do you allocate resources. The second one, you will be competent in creating an organization chart with appropriate competency and the levels of competencies. So you should be able to create an organization chart. How do you do that? To draw the competition organization chart, you first have to understand the competency level for each box. I talked about there's a hierarchy which is right on the top. Then below that there are some people reporting. So this could be the CEO. Then there could be vice presidents or general managers, and after under that there could be managers, and under the managers there could be workers. Now you need to write the boxes with accurate description, and I'll show you the next chart. Finally, you will write something like this: who is the project sponsor? If there is a regulator, or a government body who regulates or inspects, you write. Then under the sponsor, there could be a project manager. Under the project manager, there could be some team members, some contractors, some suppliers. So you will draw up the org chart based on your understanding of hierarchical way of putting all your people. So org chart is a hierarchical visual description of the entire team. And I've written in bracket C, that means competency level 4 in some, competency level 2 or 3 in some, maybe competency level 1 in some. What does that mean? Competency level means that, for example, you are hiring a person to be a data analytics or a data entry manager in your project. Okay, some projects you will be needing people who will be helping with the data. Now, competency level one could be just awareness. Someone is aware there is something called a Word document or an Excel sheet. That person can know about the Excel sheet and therefore aware. But you will say, no, no, that will not do. I need competency level two. That means competency level two means they are not only aware, but they are reasonably competent to create the basic Excel sheet and all its function. Some job you will say, no, no, that is also not a sufficient. I need advanced level of competency in Excel. So then you will write that Excel competency is required for this role, but not at one or two level, but the three level. That is, level three could be at the advanced level, and level four could be like an expert. So anything and everything which is required, this person should know. Otherwise, you can't function, because if your Excel sheet and the data analytics requires advanced programming, micros, algorithms and things like that. So you need to have an expert, because without that expert, you will not be able to function. So therefore, in the organization chart, it is not only the name of the box like this, like for a very high level of project management, you will get a competency level four, that is very senior level, who's experienced and like an expert. Now, some point of time, you might just see that have seen people applying for the job but not getting a job. So I'll explain in the next slide that why we don't get jobs, because we meet the requirement of a project manager, but we meet the requirement of the project manager at competency 1, 2, or 3 level, when really the organization looking for a level 4 manager, level 4 competency manager. Okay, so coming back here, that once you know the names in each of the boxes and the competency level, you will assign people to each of these roles. So here you will say, I have decided, suppose you're the boss, you're the sponsor here. You've decided I have put Swati as a project manager. So you'll put a name Swati there. Suppose you have decided that who will be the team members. So you might just put name of the team member as Anubhav is a team member. Okay. If you want to hire contractors, I give you the example, you can hire a Larson and Toubro. So you write the names. This contractor's name is so and so. So supplier's name, you will write those names. Only when you write the name or the designation of the box, how it is hierarchically settled or drawn, and within the box, who is the person you allocated? You as the project manager will allocate a specific person in the box, and you will say that this is the competency level. Once you have written that, this is the planning stage. To do that, obviously, you need to do job description. So here, your job description should be written here that I want a supplier who has got at the, say, a contractor at a very high level of competency, and but a supplier who could be at the middle level of competency. Okay, so you will write the job description based on the competencies. Once you have written the job description based on competency, then you got an organization structure. That means now, as a project manager or a manager managing any project, you have got a team, and the team is visually depicted in an organization structure. So all the 18 players are in the organization structure. Remember, in the organization structure, you develop by first writing who is the boss, then writing who are the below, and then you fill up in between the who will manage each of them. So that's a trick. First write the top, then write all the people at the bottom. Then you see who will supervise the bottom and how the supervisor will report to the boss. So normally an org structure is generally at least 3 levels. Complex project will have 4 levels. Higher complex project will have 5, 6, 7 levels. If you can do that, then you are a good project manager from the human resource aspect. So therefore, I'm going to give you some different type of organization structure, and I'll go very quickly because you can read each of them later. So hierarchical structure, flat structure, functional structure, matrix structure, team structure, network structure. These are the different type of structures that you need to know. So one of them you will draw. Here I have drawn a very hierarchical structure because it's hierarchical. Okay, but we'll learn about the other structures and I'll give you where these structures are used. So hierarchical structures is normally, which we all know, there is a CEO, then there are general managers, and then there are managers, and then there are workers. Why do you do this? Because the command and control is from the top and information is disseminated from the top to the bottom. So the CEO does not directly talk to the workers every day. Okay, the CEO gives a briefing to the direct reports. The direct reports, general managers then calls for another meeting and gives information to the managers, and then the manager talks to the workers. So that's how the information system happens. If anything has to be passed on to the CEO, you as a if you're in the worker level here, you don't write to the CEO directly. You write to your bosses write to their bosses, and their bosses write to the chief executive. Okay, so this is called a hierarchical structure. The second one is a flat structure where you have got one boss and everyone reports to the boss directly. For example, the chief minister of any state, they have all the ministers reporting to them. Whether it's a finance minister, whether it's a water resource manager, whether it is the HR manager, whether the skills development, all of them report. So it's a flat structure. Why the flat structure is created? Sometimes you create because you don't want filtering of information in between. You as the chief minister want everyone reporting directly to you. So this is a flat structure where the information and command and control is direct. So based on the need of your organization, you will create the structure. So there's a science behind creating the org structure. The science is what I'm explaining to you. Based on the need, you will create a hierarchy or you will create a flat structure. The third one is called functional structure. So for example, if you are the CEO of an organization or CEO of a project, the project involves creating new products, selling new products, servicing products, marketing new products. So in that project, it will be functionally, you will be creating a structure. All the people who are marketing experts will be under the marketing head. All the people who are sales expert will be under sales head. All the people who are in the service industry, finance areas will be under. So this is about functional. Or you can say that you have an organization or a project which is multi-domestic or multi-geography. In that case, you can say a division could be East, West, North, South, or North America, East, or Asia Pacific division. That way, functionally, you can create an organizational structure. Again, for the benefit of today, just remember it is strategy based. You as a project manager knows your strategy and you will evaluate each of the structure and decide what is the best structure that helps you. The next one is called a matrix structure, in which you get people from some other department who also reports to you as a project manager. So basically they are somewhere here in which they have a dual reporting system. So someone reports to you, at the same time reports to someone else. Why that someone else? Because suppose you hired someone as an expert called risk manager. Now you may not be an expert in risk manager, but you need a risk management expert, like someone we were talking last time, lean Six Sigma, black belt. So you may not require, but you will get them from a risk team where a top risk manager handles all these people and loaned you or given you as a sabbatical, or you hired from that person a risk manager who manages your project risk. Because they're managing your project risk, they have to report to you. Okay, because you're the manager for your project, so they have to report to you. But functionally, they will keep reporting to the risk manager also, who could be outside the project, who may not be in the project. So therefore, this is called a matrix structure. The next structure is called a team structure. For example, if you're working in a kitchen of a five-star hotel, okay, who is the boss in the kitchen? The chef is the boss. Who are the other people? They're all cooks, and they also chip and chop and cut. And so, in that case, a team structure normally revolves around the team manager or the team head. So, this is a typical team structure. There are other team structures based on complexity. So, basically, the examples of a team structure could be a sports team, like the captain is in the football team, and everyone else is hovering around the captain. The army, there's a platoon which is going for fighting. There is a captain, whatever the name the captain goes by, and then there is a platoon of people who are reporting to the team. So it is all revolving around your commanding officer and the army jawans who are in that team. So based on the need, you already seen a chef kind of a kitchen project will be separate. Uh, Ministerial project could be separate. Uh, Sports could be separate. So this will give you some idea about what is the team structure. The next one is basically a network structure where no one really reports to anyone, but you need a network of people to help you. For example, you are in a startup. If you're in a startup, really speaking, you don't have people who reports to you. You also probably don't have money to actually hire people either as contractor, but you want to be part of a startup hub. And in the startup hub, you have network. Okay. So this will be a typical network structure in which you will create, you're the CEO of the startup, and you will have a network where someone in the network is expert in legal aspects, someone expert in patent, someone expert in finance, someone is expert in new product development. So you basically try to be part of a network, and that is an innovation structure where no direct reporting, but the network helps you in terms of delivering the project. And the last one is another network structure, which is a very complex structure because, again, not only you are part of the network, probably you are remotely connected. And I'll give you example of the national intelligence agencies of any country. Okay, in India, you have the raw research analysis and research analysis wing. Okay, in Australia, we have ASIO. Uh, uh, you have similar names for UK and US. Now, whenever suppose there is a project which is happening where, like, I will give you an example. There was a G20 summit in Australia several years back. Now, I was judging the project because they gave the project saying that uh, they want to win the award, the National Award of Australian Projects, which is through the Australian Institute of Project Manager. I'm the chief judge of three categories there. So this project came to me where in the G20 summit, where President Putin came, Obama was the president at that point of time, uh, Angela Merkel was there. So 20 state heads are coming. You can understand what are the security risks that you have to plan. 3 years they had to plan. So how do they plan? They had a network structure of all the national agencies. So each agency, Australian national agency, talked to the Canadian agency, Russian agency, German agencies, US agencies, and got all the intelligence collected that who could be the security risk for Obama, who could be the security risk for Putin, okay, who could be security risk for Mr. Modi. And therefore, this is a typical network structure to deliver a project called organizing a G20 summit in any country. So this is how you network. Now, having known all the different types of organized structure, you should be able to create a structure for yourself, your project based on what is the strategy and which strategy will help you to create the structure. Now that you've created the structure, obviously you need to fill in the boxes within the structure. That means you need to see that who you can hire to to be the project manager, who could be a contractor, who could be a supplier. There could be a huge number of team members, managers. So for that, you need to recruit. Now, recruitment could be internal or recruit could be external. So therefore, we need to learn about hiring. You as a project manager should be able to hire. So how do you hire? I'm giving you a simple tool called first you write a job description, and against the description of the job, you hire. So what are the job description? There are four areas to describe a job. One is what qualification you need, what skill you need in the job, what knowledge and experience you need, and what soft attributes you need in the job. Okay. For example, someone who is in the front office of a bank, or someone who is a front person like a air hostess or air purser, obviously you need a very presentable attributes. Whereas someone who's sitting behind a computer and writing programs, you don't need those attributes. You just need attributes or of discipline, rigor, and deliver. So basically, therefore, when you write any job description, and you have to write job description for each and every box. Okay, not only job description for one box, not only for this box, not only for this box, not only for this box. Each box in your team you have to write. For example, suppose this is the football team. This is the manager. The job description of the manager will be written, and the sponsor could be the owner of the football team. Okay. Then suppose this is the role of a captain. So you will write who is the cricket captain, who should, if Dhoni is the captain, or Virat Kohli is going to be the captain. So you need to write the job description of the team. Sorry, of the captain, and you need to write a job description of who is the opener, who is the fast bowler, who is the seamer. So you will write each and every box their job description based on what qualification, what skills, what knowledge and experience, and what attributes. Further, the qualifications are divided into what is essential and what is desirable. Okay. Essential could be without this, you can't hire. A desirable could be that something which is desirable, but you can still live without it. Similarly, skills, what are the hard skills and the soft skills? Knowledge and experience. Domain knowledge is important, or the statutory requirement knowledge is it important. Okay. Attributes, what are the personal attributes? Are you congenial, or are you very orthodox? Are you very dictator? You know, based on the job, a dictator is very good in an army situation, whereas a dictator is very bad in a customer service job. So based on that, you will write a job description. Now that you've described the job, you can go and hire. Okay. Now the second is, what about the contractors? So I talked about the statement of work. A contractor can be hired only when you as a project manager has written the statement of work, and I've given you this template. Use this template to write any statement of work for any contractor or tender that you're going for. So use this template. I've highlighted the big ones, which is description of what is deliverable. That means pre-building, during building, after building, whatever. You write each phases, what are the deliverables in great details. Because those are the things they will be delivering. Then the timelines for each of these. So I want stage one to be finished by April, stage two by June, and the whole project should get over by September. Those milestones and date. What are the collateral services you require? Okay. Then what are the cost parameters? I'll only give you so much of dollar, or so much of rupees, or so much of whatever ruble that you want. That should be part of the statement of work. And based on the statement of work, the contractor will tender, and based on this tender, you will hire someone. So these are the two key documents that we have learned today: to write a job description and a statement of work to hire people or hire contractors. The second one, we talked about the training and development. As I mentioned to you, it is a skill for the project manager. The training and development, first you have to identify, is there a training need at all? If you've got experts, you don't need any training. That's an ideal situation. But As I told you, even the best teams, whether it is Chelsea or it's in cricket, it is Australia or India, or even the best team needs training. Okay, so why do you need training? How do you plan as a manager the training? You plan by starting with the role description. That means these are the areas that I need experts, and that is based on the competency. Then you map the competency against the individual's capability. And mapping the two, requirement versus what I have in that person, you will see the gap. If there is a gap, for example, in a cricket, you might get a fantastic batsman, but the batsman is not fit, cannot run between the wicket. So therefore, you identify the gap is that he's not fast. When he's running with Virat Kohli is already gone to the other side, and the other person is not fit enough. He's on the halfway, so the chance of run out happens. So you identify the gap, and then you say, okay, my training need for this person is to be fast. So in the training, you say, okay, you need to reduce weight, you need to be agile, whatever the planning is. So first is identify the gap. Second, use a plan which area you want. And after you plan, then you deliver the project. Now, what's the difference between training and development? A lot of people think training and development is same, and they use the training and development as one word. Actually, there are two different words. Remember, the training is for the current job. You train for the current job and you develop for the next job. For example, one person, say Rohit Sharma in your cricket team, may be trained for being the opener. But if the BCCI or the Board of Cricket Control in India, they have decided Rohit Sharma to be trained to be the captain of tomorrow, then that becomes a development need because captain needs much more competency and skills than a opener. So training is for current role, development is for the future role. Again, the plan is same. You identify what is required in the future role, and identifying the future role, you develop or you put training for that person. So this is also the job of a project manager. So you as a project manager will identify the training needs of each and every member of your team and also do the development plan for the others. Now that you have done that, now you're monitoring performance. Why? Because this is your role. Your role to have a performance management because that's the only way you can monitor performance and that's the only way you can improve performance. So how do you do that? I'm going to give you a simple tool, which is a performance management report or performance evaluation report or a form. Various forms are there. So any form that you have, they should have basically these three highlighted ones. They should be a key performance indicators, there should be achievements, and there should be development goals. What should be the goals for that person to develop or role of the person to improve? Once you have written that, then the next tool that you need to know is how do I analyze what is going wrong and how do I analyze what could be improved? So that means I'm giving you a tool called root cause analysis. RCA or the root cause analysis is a very simple analysis by asking 5 times why. If you ask 5 times why to any problem situation, you will get to the root cause of that problem. I'm repeating it again. Root cause analysis is a very simple technique of asking 5 times why to identify what is the root cause of that problem. A simple example, you've gone to a dentist saying, I've got a sensitive tooth or a toothache. The doctor will ask you 5 times why. And in asking the 5 times why, the doctor will know what the real problem is. The first why, when person says, your answer could be, I can't, I think I've got a toothache or a sensitive tooth because I can't drink hot or cold liquid. Then the doctor says, why do you think you can't drink hot or cold liquid? Because I've got a swollen gum. Why do you have a swollen gum? Maybe I've got a cavity. Why do you have cavities? Because I've been eating sweets and not brushing on time. And why are you doing that? I'm doing that because I didn't listen to my parents or to my doctors. I didn't take care of oral hygiene. So the root cause of your headache and toothache, sorry, sensitive tooth, the root cause here is that improper oral hygiene. Improper oral hygiene. So we have gone into the root cause. Test it out through in your real life. 5 times you ask why, and the answer by the time you have reached five, sometime at the fourth level itself, you have reached the real root cause. Sometime at the third, why you have reached the root cause. But normally, 99% of the time, by the time you have asked the fifth why, you will get the real reason why there is a performance issue. So you use these two techniques to identify the performance and the improvement area. So my last slide is basically about, therefore, you as a project manager, now you know the strategy for improving the performance of your team, which includes your own performance, is basically these four: that right training, right coaching, right mentoring, and if nothing works, then disciplinary action means sacking that person or asking that person to go somewhere else, not in your team. Okay, so these could be some of the strategies that you will deploy as a project manager, so that you could deliver a project from the human resource aspect at a very highest level. So what we have learned today, so this is the summary slide. What we have learned today is the what is your role as a project manager in terms of managing people or the human resources. And we have learned there are 5 stages. Each of the stage of the project, I have to manage the people and manage the contractor. Next is, after I have got my people and a good idea of the people and the contractor, I need to allocate the resources in a right box. Okay, that means I will establish the competency, and I will write the job descriptions, and I'll put an organization structure. So this is what is called establishing your team or establishing the project from the human resource aspect. We learned that today. Then we learned that there are many types of organization structure. We will have one of those based on what is the strategy and what is the requirement for the project. And once that has been done, then what you do is you recruit. You recruit internally or you recruit from externally. One of the tool for the recruitment is able to write a very good job description. If you write a good job description, it ticks the box, you get the best person. Otherwise, you hire the wrong person, and then there are gaps. Now, in terms of hiring contractors, we have learned today, we hire through the template of statement of work, where we have stated what are the deliverables, what are the timelines, what are the costs within which you have to deliver. So, job description for people and statement of work for contractors. After you have put all of them together, you got a reasonably good team to start with, yet there will be need for training, and you will train them based on the gaps, and there will be need for developing some of those people so that in future you can use them in your project or within your organization. That will be the development task. Once you have done all these, you will continue to monitor the performance to improve the performance. And for that, we have learned two tools. One is the basic performance evaluation form or report template. And we have learned a technique called root cause to analyze why the performance is not as per the standard and how I can improve the performance. And the last, we have learned the improving strategies, which are basically you as a project manager will train or monitor or coach. And if nothing works, obviously you will say tata, bye bye. This is not your project. Maybe I'll have to hire someone else. So with this, I'll stop now and I'll take any question. So today we have completed the human resource management or the role of a project manager like an HR manager. And I will stop the recording now. Yeah. So to summarize, the question was, what are the competency level? What I answered, there are different categories of competency from awareness to basic to adapt to expert, and you hire based on competency because if you overhire, you have to pay higher salary, and that's a waste. Whereas if you underhire, that means you got low quality people and therefore you will get delivered low quality. So that is the answer for why we need competencies. Okay.
Is it
Anyone?
relatable to the level of experience, years of experience?
Yeah, it is not only experience. There are four levels of competency. Let me go back to the slide. Can you see my slide still?
Yes.
Okay. So remember, not only the qualification or experience, your competency should be in terms of, for example, qualification could be a bachelor's degree as an engineer, or the qualification could be a master's degree or a PhD level engineer. Okay. So therefore, you can write the different levels of engineer, the skills. Okay. It's a very just a rookie from the engineering college or very high level of engineer delivered plenty of good engineering projects. So the very high level of skills. So each of these qualification skills, knowledge, and attributes, you should be able to uh, put the competency levels. Okay, it's a good way of uh, articulating what you need and why you need. Any other questions?
One more question, sir.
Yeah.
Like if I have 25 people in a team and
Mhm.
I want to build a product which has some technical aspects. So I need some technical skills from them as well as managerial skills from these 25 members. So what is the hierarchical structure I should follow?
Uh,
Or
so if you see, the trick is here, it's very systematic. The trick is here to actually uh, first articulate what you need. So that is where the job description comes. The job description gives you very clearly, do you need managerial skills at all? For example, if it is just a programmer at that level, so do you really need a programmer with managerial skills? So if you need, then hire someone who is not only a programmer but also having managerial skills. But if you don't need a managerial skill, don't have to hire someone high and pay high cost, because in that case you will be paying a lot more than what is required. So, so in your question, can you let me know what was your requirement? Was it only technical skills, or you also needed managerial skills?
I actually just for an example, like I need a person who is expert in suspension and safety and all, and he also need to handle a team under him who will either design or who will either make some inputs for research for the whole department, suspension department. So I need that kind of person.
Good. So what I'm hearing is that you not only need someone who are technically strong, but
Hmm.
also you need someone who's got some managerial capabilities, because that person will also manage a group of people.
Hmm.
Correct?
Hmm. Hmm. Yes.
So now the question is, if he has to manage a group of people, then the soft skills will be managerial skills also. That means managing team, inspiring team, evaluating the team and their performance, guiding them, mentoring them, coaching them. Okay, so these are the things you will be writing that I will also need. So in your interview, then you will have questions to test those ones. So your question will be that I've seen your CV, I've seen your work experience, I'm comfortable that you have got excellent technical skills. But let me check, what have you done to encourage your team? What have you done in a situation where the team was not doing well and you have to actually understand what are the difficulties and how did you overcome? Can you let us know a story in your life? Can you give us an example? So you will ask these questions in the interview so that you're given an opportunity to that person to explain in similar situation when he or she was managing a team, how he identified the problem, how he overcome the problem, how he encouraged, motivated, and inspired the team for very high performance. So these are called competency based interview technique. So competency based interview technique means you ask them to give an example from the past work that they have done. So they don't say, I know all the theories. You say, can you give us an example? So the person's example will be a star formula. Do you know what star, STAR? No, okay.
No.
The star, we will try and cover that if I can. The star, the way you answer, and this is also for you, if you ever been asked this question, the star is S is for situation, T is for task, A is for action, R is for results. So your answer will be this was a situation, and therefore this was my task. These are the actions I have taken, and these are the results which were achieved. 4 sentences you should be able to answer, and then you actually practice these ones during before you go for an interview. Okay, there will be a question always competency based interview. Can you give us an example from the past? Okay, and they will tell you an example of past where you motivated the team or performance managed the team. So then you use the stars saying the situation was I was working in Delhi in this company, and there the situation was there were weak team members, and I had to really inspire, bring them up to standard. So in this situation, my task was to train and develop and also inspire and motivate by mentoring and coaching. The actions that I did is I had called an external expert to give training on specific areas, or I took training every Friday afternoon for 2 hours. So those are the actions you did. And then, therefore, within 6 months' time, everyone was trained and they were performing in the top. I was at the line and a 60% level of my performance hit, and now I have to hit 80%. See, in 4 sentences, you explain situation, task, actions, and results. Make sense?
Yes. And one last question, sir. I'll not take much time. Uh, from your vast experience you have, just can you please tell us one thumb rule to manage disputes within the team?
Right. So conflict resolution is one of the competency I will be covering. Actually, I was trying to but today to cover today, but today I think the slides became a little more. I think next 1 or 2 lectures I'll be able to cover. So this is part of conflict resolution. So there are many techniques of conflict resolution. Some of these things can be shared and learned, and some of this is your own personal leadership style. Okay, so I'm not preempting my future slides, but overall, I'll tell you conflict resolution starts with the source of the conflict. Okay, so you can use the root cause analysis that I've given. to identify what is the source. Is it sometimes the source what you think is not right? Someone is demotivated, someone is having an attitude, someone doesn't care. He thinks Anubhav is a bacha, yeah, Anubhav is a kid. I'm 20 years in this organization, but because he's an MBA, he's a engineer, he's come and is my boss. So they will not tell you that, but you will see there is a conflict in the organization. So for you to find the root cause could be acceptability. Okay, the root cause will be ego. Okay, so you use the root cause analysis and find out what is the real root cause. And once you have the root cause, there are multiple techniques for resolution of the conflict. So one could be avoidance, that will avoid any situation which could be conflicting. Let us see the example of the Ukraine and the Russia war. Okay, there's a conflict going on. For example, if someone knew about conflict resolution would have said that Mr. President of Ukraine, do not try to go and join NATO because this is a red line for your neighbor called Russia. So avoid joining NATO. Your life is going on fine. Do not join. So avoid the conflict by just avoid the conflict by not doing something which is a red line. So that's an avoidance technique. The second could be that now that there's a conflict which cannot be avoided, you can try and eliminate the problem. So eliminate the problem is okay. Now I made a mistake. I'm now giving you in writing that I will not go in for the NATO, and I'm eliminating the root cause of the conflict, and therefore we are fine. So third could be instead of elimination, you can go for what is called the administrative control. So administrative control could be many types of administrative control. In this case, it could be, you really want to solve the conflict with power, in which you fight it out militarily. You know, you settle the conflict through power. Sometimes there's another technique that when I'm covering leadership, I don't know when I'll be covering leadership or whether there will be time. There is a simple tool that we use called 3 Fs. Here the Fs are not bad words. Here Fs are good words. This comes from the Tavistock Institute of Human Relationship, close to Leicester in London, where they had researched human behavior post World War in small groups and large groups. And after that, they came out with a theory which is valid even today. The 3 Fs is that in a conflicting situation, you will see people either fight or they flight or they freeze. 3 Fs: fight, flight, or freeze. Okay, so the fight, because in a conflict situation, everyone thinks that they are right, the other person is wrong, you fight it out. So you in group behavior, you will see there's a lot of arguments, a lot of fights. Okay, so that is called fight situation. Flight situation is you don't want to really get into the mess of conflict and situation. There's a conflict going on, you simply walk out from that room. That is called flight. You're taking a flight out. Okay, you will see many of us do that in many situations. You are in a situation where bosses are accusing you, you don't agree, there's a situation, but you just put your head down and just walk off. Okay, so you face it all. You are going you're in a bazaar or a mall or in a public transport, someone is antagonistic towards you, you don't fight, you just go off. That's called flight. And the third one is called freezing. Some situation, in a boardroom situation, bosses said, look, we have done very badly, targets are not met, jobs are at stake. And then what you see is pin drop silence. No one reacts to anything. Why? Because they're frozen. They don't know what to do because they don't have an answer to themselves. They're insecure. They just keep quiet. So these are the three basic characteristics of human being, 3 Fs. And you will see conflict resolution. These are individuals' conflict resolution technique. So there are much more science to it. When I have time, if I have time, maybe we can share more. But at least this will give you some understanding of, elimination, avoidance, administrative control, or another one we say is third party. You delegate to a third party. You don't handle the conflict. You just go to your boss and say, boss, you handle the conflict. I can't handle. Okay, parents do that all the time with small kids. Small kids, parents always do. Okay, go to your papa. Papa will handle. What are you doing is you're not handling the conflict. You're just delegating it to third party. In organization, how do we do delegate to third party? You take an insurance. There's a conflicting situation which could create problems for yourself. You take an insurance. If anything goes wrong, the insurance company will make up for it. So there are different techniques. Maybe when I cover risk management, I'll give you these techniques. Okay,
But there is also a game of perception, right, sir?
come again, please.
There is also a game of perception. Like if two people have to fight, and for the two people they are not agreed with that situation, or they are not agreed with the act which I'm doing, so they got fed up from me. So there's also a situation like that. So it's also a game of perception. What I'm doing right for those two person are wrong for those two person, and if I'm favoring those two person, let's say X and Y, then A and B gets offended. So how to manage those situations also? It's also a good
Correct. When there's a
um,
perception, then
big problem to be
yeah,
solved.
you have identified always the root cause here, which you're defining as the issue of perception. So then solution becomes easy. The perception could be changed by further and better communication. Perception could be changed with providing better and further inputs or communication. Okay. Anyone else? Any other question? Otherwise, I think we have really overshot the time today. I'm quite happy to go, but I know it's a Sunday for all of you, so we will close it. If any other question anyone else has got.
I have one more question if time allows.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
You were saying about the types of leadership styles. So can you please describe about those?
Yeah, I think I will have a session where I'll give you all these. It's a very interesting
Okay.
session. Either next week or next to next week, I will have a session where I will talk about leadership.
Actually, in one of my interview, the panel have asked me about what is the leadership style.
You will be very well equipped to answer that question within 2 or 3 weeks. I can tell you that. I teach leaderships. It's a full credit course I teach in a university. So I've just summarized that in 1 or 2 slides. So you will be very well versed very soon on leadership styles.
Okay.
So just hold on for 1 or 2 weeks. Okay. Anyone else?
I think, Doctor, now we can, wind up, since the time, as you said, 20, 25 minutes overshoot from the
Right.
desired timings. Yeah.
Yeah, we can wind off. And remember, I'm more than eager to answer the questions. What you do is write down these questions which are unanswered. Or when you're reviewing these videos, maybe at the end of the course, because the course will probably finish in 10 weeks. Maybe we can add a 11th week or a 12th week in which I'll answer all the questions pertaining to all the sessions. So any questions, don't worry, just write it down. It'll be a good recap and we will answer those questions in future also.
I hope everyone is using Utopia platform for the communications and all, practices and all. Is it so? Goldie,
Uh,
everyone is.
I think
Yes.
I'm not able to access the Utopia platform. Yes, I've asked 2, 3 times, but I think I have not got that link so far.
Okay, can you just put in your email ID? I can just share it with you right away.
Goldie sent to me. I'll share with Kais. No issues.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good. Terrific. So we will call it a day. Happy Sunday once again.
Yeah.
Enjoy, and
Thanks a
I'll
lot.
see you again